for three. Dagger!
Hello, and welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc, bringing you all things NBA basketball. We're talking MVP, we're talking all this stuff as we always are. We're talking big games, we're talking lots of action today. Joined as always by my co-host David. How's your day going, bro?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I can't complain. It's finally warm down here. Well, not warm, but it's pretty good. Nice weather. We're talking about 67 maybe. Close to that. So we love it. We love it. Absolutely balling.
Definitely can't complain about a little nice weather and some nice basketball, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to start, as we always do, with a little good, bad, and ugly. David, what is your good for this week's show?
See, I feel like we'll sound like broken records, but again, the Lakers. Remember last week when I told you, or when we agreed that we are going to sweep the Clippers? You know, we did the business on Timberwolves, handled business on, I think before the Timberwolves, I can't remember who it was. It was Dallas, did business on Dallas.
Denver?
Last time, Denver, obviously remember Denver, but last episode, remember, I think we were building up to the game against Dallas, Luka going back. You know, handled business against Dallas, handled business against Timberwolves, handled business against Clippers twice. Second in the West, maybe third, obviously, depending on some standings, however you want to say it. You can't lie, Lakers are looking nice. Whether you know how big of a hater you are, just say I can't lie, the Warriors are looking nice too. Lakers are looking lovely. That's all I can say. That's my good for this week.
A great good, and that was my good. The Lakers have been playing great basketball. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games, and Luka's looking really comfortable. And I might sound like a broken record, but shout out to JJ Redick, because that has been the difference maker. Having him as our coach, that is a huge part of professional sports that I don't think you always think about or look at, because it's a professional sport. But the coaching is a huge factor, and we would not be this team. But my good is not that. My good is LeBron being the Western Conference Player of the Month and putting up crazy stats. Dude was averaging just shy of 30 points in the month of February and was playing. He was on a tear. Luka has played great basketball, but what I've loved about LeBron is he's really helped Luka find his footing, and you can tell that they're figuring it out together. And I'm not going to lie, I don't want to sound like a homer, but the way that they are playing together now, if they continue to stay healthy and play like that, it's going to be scary come playoff time, because I honestly believe they will only get better. But my good definitely has to be LeBron being the Western Conference Player of the Month. But also beyond that, I saw a stat the other day that he is putting up very even stats.
MVP numbers, yeah.
There we go. You already know what I was going to say. He's putting up, like, since his birthday, he's putting up. So that is
contrasting numbers.
He had insane numbers, MVP caliber numbers from his. Well, I don't remember what season, but it was when he was on the Heat.
2013.
Yep, that was the one. So dude is on a tear, and now Luka's kind of they're definitely evening each other out. So that's my good, is LeBron and just the Lakers as a whole. Moving on, what is your bad for this week's show? Other than that,
my bad has to be for. I was going to say the Memphis, because if you all know, the Memphis have lost 4 in a row at home on late point baskets. I was going to go with that, but I have to go with these Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns are terrible. I watched them against the Timberwolves. And bear in mind, Timberwolves are not that good of a team also. Like, they are good, but like they are very inconsistent. Right? And they had the Timberwolves on ropes in the first half. And then in the second half, they just started playing like dog nonsense. And every day you kind of hear reports coming out of how, the locker room is a turmoil, this, that, we definitely know KD is being traded, we know this, Booker. Like, the whole organization has just taken a downward spiral and in an accelerated form. They are pretty much decelerated to the downwards of the earth, obviously. Um, so that's just I think this feeling song. I thought about it for a minute and I was like, I watched that game and I was like, these guys are actually terrible. Like they do not deserve to be in the top 10. I think Devin Booker and KD deserve better. I just don't know what the problem is. I can't tell you what the problem is.
I mean, yeah, no, we literally have the same exact bad. I the Suns, we talked last episode about will the Suns make the play in. I don't even think they will. They're like 5 games back from the Mavs. Now, the one thing I will say is the Mavs obviously
Ooh,
have a really major injury, and that's bad for the whole league because Kyrie was playing really good basketball. Even though the Lakers won, he cooked the Lakers. He played some
did.
really, really good basketball. And even after that game, before his injury, he was playing some really, really good basketball. So
Mm-hmm.
really disappointing. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for me, the Suns are not going to make the play-in even. I don't even think they're going to unless they can turn it around and go on a run. But they're 2-8 in the last 10 games. And when you look even before the last 10, they've just been losing. They cannot figure it out. Injuries, they can't figure out rotations. It has just been a nightmare. And that team is absolutely going to blow up. It is not going to look like it does now next season. I wouldn't be shocked if quite a few players find a new home on that team. Other than Booker, I think Booker will remain, and that's the only one I'm confident will probably stay, but who knows? But anyways, moving on, what is your ugly for this week's good, bad, and ugly?
I mean, there are 23 games left in the season. The Suns, obviously, anything is possible, but except
That's
the only way the Suns making the playoff is if Dallas um pivots down, which it brings me with tears in my eyes. Obviously, you guys can't see the tears in my eyes, but with tears in my eyes, my ugly has to be Kyrie Irving. ACL injury, ACL injury. That is bad. That is really bad for Kyrie. I think as a mass organization as a whole, you have their two bigs out, Anthony Davis out, and then Kyrie out. Who do you have left? Clay. Clay's the only person you have left. So that's kind of sad to see, and that's kind of ugly the way he went down and obviously them reporting this morning that he has an ACL because I think he has an ACL. Likely, no, Gafford has an MCL tear or something like that. What so one of these major tears in the leg, and then I saw reports today coming out about them also potentially shutting AD down for the season and just getting healthy for next season. So again, that's just really ugly. Like the fact that Kyrie sustained that, because I think Kyrie was the only hope, and obviously AD coming back. Kyrie was the only hope for AD to come back, and then both of them together would have been the only hope for the Mavs. Other than that, mm-mm, mm-mm.
No, yeah, that is ugly. And talk about Kyrie is getting up there in age, and it can be pretty difficult to come back from an injury like that. And he's
Is
an explosive player. What he does,
exactly.
even at his age, is be an explosive. He's one of the most explosive players. And I would say we could go. I don't think it's been this season or last season, but a few years ago we talked about AI versus Kyrie, and I would just say Kyrie's handle and what he is able to do is special. And so that it's really disappointing and upsetting to see that possibly, and I don't think it 100% will change. He could be healthy, he could come back, he could have a really successful rest of his career and still put up some good numbers, but you definitely can imagine or wonder if he'll be the same player. So
Yeah.
it's something that is disappointing as an NBA fan because he was playing great basketball. My ugly, and I talked about this last episode, but this is actually not the same type of take on it. It's about the 76ers, but it's not about my awful take about them going on a run. It's about the report that they might be looking at moving on from Embiid. And
I mean,
for
he's out for the season already, isn't it?
yeah, no, he's out for the season. What I will say, it's ugly because that was a 10 to 11 year
Plan.
plan built around one player. And now they did have Ben Simmons. They had a slew of other players throughout the process, but Embiid was the guy, and Embiid was that like player they were trying to build a championship team around, and it just never happened. Whether he got, I mean, since the beginning, he missed his first season, his rookie season because of injury. So since the beginning, you've seen a problem. You've seen a pattern. He's had a couple of seasons where he's had a little more consistency and a little more health, but it's been very spotty. And then talk about how they've never gone very far in the playoffs. He's never been able to be that player in the postseason. So it's my ugly because it's a 11, literally it's going on an 11-year process that is coming to an end. Now look at the positive. They've got Maxi, and that is the player that you look at for the future. Paul
Yeah.
George, if he was a little bit younger and a little less injury prone, would also be a player you look at to the future. But maybe you still can. That is a vet. That is a player that knows the big moments and knows what to do in the moments that mattered. So he could be a really good mentor and still get some good minutes on the team. So I don't think you look at Paul George like the main guy or the number two even, but I think if you can keep him around, you do keep him around because I think he can
Yeah.
still definitely contribute in a lot of ways. So for me, that's my ugly, but the 76ers aren't out. I definitely think if they make the right move, and I think that is moving on from Embiid, I think it is time for everyone to move on because Embiid might not even be able to have a career. Embiid might not be able to play basketball again. I think we should be asking ourselves that because now we're going on 2 seasons where he's been out essentially the whole season. And then what was he, an MVP the season before that? Let's talk about how that was a really one of the worst MVP picks of all time, possibly, just because of how it looks now in retrospect. Like looking at it now, it's really so yeah, that's my ugly for the week. But moving on, because you were talking about it in your ugly, we're going to talk a little Mavs basketball. Obviously, Kyrie out. AD, there's a really good possibility, especially since Kyrie is out, especially if they're trying to retain him and keep both of those guys, that they will sit him and just try to have them out healthy next season together. The question is, can they still make the play-in? Can they still make the playoffs? I do think even with a roster that's cut down, because the
Mhm.
Suns are playing such a brand of basketball that is pathetic. It is like they don't even have Kevin Durant. It is like they don't have Devin Booker. And some nights they literally don't. Um, Man, you know who they need? They need. I can't believe I'm saying this. They need Aiton. I was playing 2K25 today, my career, and he probably put up like 4 blocks on my big, bro. It was terrible. So that's maybe they need him back. Maybe they need to call him back from Portland because I was getting absolutely cooked. But the fact is, I think the Mavs can still do it. I don't think the Mavs are out. I think the Suns are playing such, and Portland's behind the Suns, I believe, and Portland's not going to get it done. I do think the Mavs have enough steam to make the play in, but that's it. I think the Mavs make the plan and then they get bounced, or on the slight off chance that they do decide to have AD come back, maybe he goes off in a play-in game like he has before for the Lakers, and then they get bounced in the first round. But I think they sit AD. I think they because I think their goal is for AD and Kyrie to play together. And I think the goal is the players have the same goal. I think Kyrie and AD really do want to play together. And I think to do that, I think they're going to sit AD. So I think AD's done for the season, but I don't think he's done. I saw a bunch of things people saying, is AD ever going to play for the Mavs again? Is Kyrie? I think they're both going to come back, but I think the rest of that roster is not safe. I think we're going to see a Mavs team that is restructured. Could Klay Thompson still be there? Maybe, but I
Yeah.
think we're going to see a Mavs team that's restructured next season, but it's restructured around Kyrie and AD. What do you think happens next season? Do you think they keep AD and Kyrie and restructure, or do you think it's going to be pretty much the same team going into next year?
Well, the front office of Mavs need to have another tough conversation. Obviously, they had a tough conversation with Luca. They need to have another tough conversation with about AD and if they need to sit him down. But I do think, and Kyrie, this after this summer, he was meant to get back. I believe he was meant to secure it, but I still think he will secure it back. I think the Mavs, he's shown so much in the Mavs that warrants that bag. Bear in mind that you know his ACL tear. Um, I think they'll keep Clay. Obviously, they'll keep PJ. They'll keep you know Lively and Garford. Obviously, those guys injured out. They are Davis definitely. Davis is still on the roster. I don't know how long, maybe 2 more years. I'm thinking of they'll definitely keep Max Christie. 100% keep Max Christie. Um, don't be surprised if this team still kind of looks the same. Kind of give you one more run. They might keep it to the trade deadline. Give it one more run. Everyone fully fit. Gafford, Lively, AD, Kyrie, everyone fully fit. Give it to the trade deadline to see where they're at, and then maybe move. But then they will have to have a tough conversation this season because yeah, this team can get it done, but then and they are better than the Phoenix Suns. But if the Phoenix Suns do start playing with 23 games left, do you think you have what it takes to be? You might have to play two playing games. Where the Mavs are at, you might have to play two playing games, and that's tough. That's tough for a team like that will have to play two playing games back to back. I think that will be kind of tough. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I agree. I don't think the Mavs make the playoffs. I think they get bounced. I think they make the play-in, but I think they get bounced. What's up, Ryan? Actually, hey, speaking of the Lakers, pal, they're second in the West right now. Just in case you didn't know that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, just in case anyone didn't know, the Lakers are now second. I called it. I'm just kidding. I think I said they'd maybe move up to third, but second, I did not. I did not. That's they've had an impressive jump. Obviously, there's a lot of basketball left, but Lakers are looking pretty nice. Um, but back to your point about the Mavs, I definitely think they're gonna have some tough conversations, and I do think there's a possibility that they will give it until the trade deadline for quite a few of the players that they got in this trade, or just in general players on their roster. But I do think that there's a small chance, especially if they don't make the playoffs, that they will look to make some moves before the next season. Um, and so I think time will tell, but I definitely don't see the Mavs making it past the first. Their ceiling is getting swept in the first round. That's my opinion, and that's not a very high ceiling. So I would much rather see AD and Kyrie come back next season and then be a competitive team for an entire season. So time will tell, but again, man, I'm really disappointed that Kyrie's out and that AD's out. I really did want to see this team compete, just not against the Lakers. What can I say? Moving on, we're going to do a little bit, and we've done this before. I think we've actually done this quite a few times on this show, but we're going to, since the lineup and since the standings are different, we're going to do a little contender versus pretender for the top six in each conference. We will just what am I saying? We will just sorry, I'm not the best at Jay's not usually on our guy's not usually on anymore, so I get caught up reading comments and get distracted. Anyways, we're just gonna read them off. We're start with the West. Starting with OKC, it's obvious they're contenders. Anyone that says anything else is lying to themselves, because that to me is the best team top to bottom in the West. They really do have it all. And the areas where they've had a little bit of health concerns are, I don't see them now. They're definitely a strong team, and they've been the best team in the West and maybe in the NBA for the whole season. So starting with the OKC, I'm going contenders. David, contenders or pretenders for OKC?
I mean, they're already postseason is already secured for them. Like that's what it is. For second team to crack 15 wins, them and Cavs. Like I'm even going to keep this simple. I think the West is tough. Obviously, the well, that's why we call it the Wild Wild West, right? OKC 100%. Now, when we get to conference finals, they have what it takes to pass conference finals. That's a whole nother conversation. But in terms of exiting out of the first round, nah, they're good. As long as they don't play Lakers, they're good.
Very true, very true. Speaking of the Lakers, number two, I'm going contender. I think the way they're playing right now and their record slash And by record, I mean, they're second in the West, but obviously, again, that could definitely change. That could change by the end of this week, and they could be third or even fourth, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe not fourth, but they could definitely move down to third in 7 days' time. But the way they're playing basketball and the way that they dominate teams, even if the games are close, the way they're playing basketball offensively is a way I have not seen them play. Even when they won the championship in 2020, I don't think they were that sound or that complete of an offensive team. And I'm going to be honest, their defense is playing better too. Their defense is,
Imagining.
shout out to their defense. I don't think we can talk about them without giving them a shout out, because I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know if it's just the players that they have, the group that they have together. It just works. And so the Lakers, in my opinion, are contenders. Are they going to stay second? I don't know that for sure. I can see them. I don't think they'll move below fourth by the end of the season if they have a drop off. But I don't think they're moving below third. I really don't. I think they'll be able to maintain. We're going to have to see. They've got a couple of games. This next one against the Pelicans is not the one. I mean, we've seen them sleep and drop games they shouldn't. But the games I'm talking about, we'll talk about in a little bit, and those are some Eastern Conference matchups. But yeah, Lakers are contenders. What are your thoughts, David? Contenders or pretenders?
Definitely, definitely. I think again, it's all about matchup. This team has the capabilities. They're playing good defense to be able to get them to where. Now, I don't know, playing against the big guys. Yes, we have seen them contain the big guys before, but then in a 7 game series, would that last? I don't know. Um, Lakers don't necessarily have bigs. That's my concern when it comes to the playoff. But obviously, when you think of good basketball, yeah, Lakers can go all the way. Again, matchups are everything, so we'll see. I think they are probably good in between pretenders and contenders. There are a lot of things that was fact in between. They're not bona fide pretenders, but they are also not pretenders. Or did I say that right? They are not bona fide contenders, but they are also not pretenders. So they are just kind of in
No, that's
between. Yeah.
fair. That's fair. I would say because, and I mean, you brought it up. I didn't mention it about not having bigs and missing that crucial. I mean, who we have and what we're doing, it seems to be working. But in a 7 game series,
Exactly. Wait, I played the same team 7 times and they get to make adjustments after every. Nah, I don't know. It might be tough. Might just be tough.
especially when a team has a player like Joker, and speaking of the next team, they do. That's the Nuggets at third. I'm going contender. I think.
Just because of their resumes, just because of their resume and the Joker. That's all.
I mean, fair. And their depth is still. I
What
would say
depth?
that. What do you mean?
What depth? They don't have no depth. That's the problem. They have no
Some of
depth, and
the, some of the better depth at the big position, or the most productive on the offensive side. When they're healthy, they've got a pretty productive depth, and that's been one thing that's like beat teams like the Lakers, and it's beat us down. I will say injuries, and at certain positions they don't have the depth they had the season that they won the championship. It's not the same depth, but they definitely have a depth. Like you just talked about the Lakers and how we cannot stop that big group with who we have in a 7 game series. I truly don't think that we could beat them in one game where the refs gave us a couple of fouls that we probably shouldn't have had, and also it was one game. But for me, I think that's a good question. But the depth that I'm referring to is definitely in that area, because that
um,
depth is what has shut us down like too many years in a row. But again, their resume and Joker. Joker can get it done. Joker is a player. There are some players, we talked about Embiid. He's a really good regular season player. He can disappear in the playoffs. Joker doesn't really disappear in the playoffs. Joker has had games where he has not shown up, but for the most part, he has shown up, and when he does, his team does. So for
mhm.
me, Nuggets are contenders. But again, you said it best. The resume and Joker is a good reason. And then for me, it's also that depth in that position, or in that area 4 and 5 and even 3 really does boost that team's chances in a series at least.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah.
health has been not the best for that team at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. And I also think their defense has been kind of sketchy this season. I
It
think I
has.
think they haven't been the defensive powerhouse we've known them to be. So it's kind of a bit sketchy. I don't
Agreed.
know what the exact numbers are, but it's been sketchy this season. So we'll see.
No, that's a really good point. The defense has definitely not made their case better. I'm gonna just do these two in a row because I think we can do them. Grizzlies and Rockets are both pretenders. Um,
Hmm.
Grizzlies, I don't want to say pretenders because I remember watching them in that series a few years ago with the Lakers, and that was a fun series. Honestly, shout out. That was one positive of that last little bit of time with the Lakers. That was a really fun couple of series before we got stuffed by the Nuggets. But the Grizzlies are not that team, and they've proven that. They've been playing really bad basketball, and that's a team that's really inconsistent. And the Rockets, while they've not been as inconsistent record wise, that they still have started to slip a little bit, and we're just I don't think they'll finish below sixth. I think the Rockets could slip down to sixth, maybe seventh, but I think they're definitely pretenders. So for me, those are two easy pretender calls. What about you? Are either of those two contenders, or are they both looking like pretenders?
No, I think Rockets are too young. Rockets need experience. So 100% pretenders, and then Grizzlies. Like for some reason, they can't just turn up in the playoffs. Regular season, they can go what 55 and whatever, and then not turn up in the playoffs. So I don't know what it is. I don't have Grizzlies winning out. I don't. Yeah, both pretenders. I'm not even thinking too deep into this.
Yeah,
Both
no.
pretenders.
They're definitely both. And then looking at six in the West, Warriors, I'm going contenders. I really am. I'm going contenders. What I will say is, since acquiring Jimmy Butler, they are playing a level of basketball that they have not played since they won a championship before. They're playing a level of basketball that is definitely up there. Now, they don't have Jordan Poole. They don't have the same team that they had that season. They were definitely a team that was stacked in certain positions, and that is why they won that championship. And also, I mean, they played a team. There wasn't a lot of size in that finals. So there's a lot of things, but the Warriors look the most like that team that they have. And for me, you can't count out, and I've done it too many times. You can't count out playoff experience. And when we're talking about contenders versus pretenders, we're talking about teams that have experience. Those are the teams that go the distance, and we've seen the Warriors be a team with experience on their side, beating the Kings, beating these teams that are young and explosive, but the Warriors can outlast them. And adding Jimmy Butler only strengthens that because Jimmy Butler
Hmm.
is that guy. So for me, they're contenders. Now, I like, you know what, I'm gonna pull you and I'm gonna say they're somewhere between contenders and pretenders. I like that. I think the Lakers and them. Now I think the Lakers are a little bit above them because obviously record and everything wise they are, but I think they're both teams that are in between. And I think the Warriors are somewhere in between contenders and pretenders. But right now they're looking really close, much closer to contenders to me. So I gotta go contender. But again, thinking back to the beginning of the season and just obviously the playoffs, I don't know, but for me they're contenders. What are your thoughts? Are you thinking the same, or you think they're maybe more of one?
I don't know. Warriors are. I'm a bit iffy on the Warriors. I'm a bit iffy on the Warriors because again, is this new player energy? Like what was this? So I don't
Fair.
know. I don't know. So I think I'll stay with in between. I think they could be pretenders, and they could also be contenders on a good day because you can't count out Steph. Steph is Steph. You can't count out Steph. So we'll definitely see. It'll be fun to see where the Warriors finish.
It will be. It'll be interesting. I Time will tell. Moving on to the East, uh Cavs contenders. I'm gonna go
100%. Yeah,
I'm gonna go
100%.
back to back. Cavs and Celtics both contenders.
Hundred
Um
percent.
I think for me, the Cavs are that OKC team in the East, and you can tell A by the record and B just by the momentum they've had and the win streaks they've had and just the separation between other teams they've had. But the Celtics are still right there. So for me, those are two contenders. Are you thinking the
Yeah,
same thing?
definitely. Yeah, I think that might probably be the Eastern Conference Final. Let's be frank. Both
Yeah.
teams playing the way they are. Both teams who they are. Yeah, so 100% contenders.
Moving on, I'm gonna go. This is pretty easy. Knicks are pretenders. Knicks are pretenders.
Every
They
year, every year.
every year. Literally, yeah, hey, you couldn't have said it any better. They have been pretenders since even when they were competing for championships and going further, they were still pretenders. The years of Patrick Ewing, they were not winning. They were not going the distance. The years of Starks, they would always get stopped at some point. And now they're a very similar team. So they're very similar. I mean, they definitely have, I would say, one of the best talent wise, one of the best teams
Yeah.
they've had in quite a long time. But at the same time, they're not going to go the distance. And they've shown that this season. They've shown that during the regular season against top tier teams. I mean, they couldn't beat the Lakers when we didn't have our shit figured out at all. We didn't know what the hell was going on, and we beat them. And they have dropped a lot of games they should not have dropped before and since. So, pretenders. What are your thoughts on the Knicks? Is this their season?
The Knicks. The Knicks are a tough one too. I think they are in between pretenders and contenders. Because on a good day, the Knicks can come in and drop on your head any number.
True.
But then on their not so good day, they can just shit the bed. So it's a tough one. The Knicks, the Knicks are so good that they can actually challenge, and we all know their record this season against the top teams. We know this 0-7 or what, some 1-7 or I think it's changed, but like the Knicks are just they have what it takes to just never get over the line.
I mean, yeah, that's literally they're just right there, and they've been just right there. So time will tell. I'm gonna go Bucks are next. I'm gonna go contenders. I'm gonna go contenders. I think for me, they've been playing a really good brand of basketball and a better brand of basketball than what they've played. I mean, here's what I will say. They have been a team that has not been able to get it done since they won a championship, very much like our Los Angeles Lakers. They have been a team that has been bounced very early, that has had teams that they just cannot beat.
Yeah.
For me, how they've been playing basketball this last like 2 to 3 weeks and just this entire season, honestly, even though they've had some inconsistencies, they are starting to look more like a team that can go for it and that can make a push. And some of these games and wins are showing that too. So if you've watched this show before, you know I am not a Bucks supporter, Bucks fan, and it's not a team I usually talk good about. But for me, the Bucks definitely are at this moment what I would call a contender. But again, they have not been able to get it done year in and year out, and they don't have the best coaching staff for getting it done either. And so there's a whole list of things that go against what I'm saying. But for me, I'm going to go against all of that and say I think they're a contender. What are your thoughts? But I will say somewhere in between contender and pretender. I like that we're adding that in there because I'm going to.
This is the Bucks we're talking about, right?
It is.
Milwaukee Bucks.
It is. Giannis, Dame time.
Max second round. Max second round. I'm not even thinking to do Max
that
second
would not
round.
be a contender either.
Pretender.
That you know what? That's fair. That short and sweet and to the point. And I honestly, second round does not make you a contender, and that is where they've ended up year in and year out. So that who knows? Time will tell. Pacers, pretenders. I'm not going to waste time with that. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Do you think they've got it?
Pacers. What was? See, if this was the West, this would make so much sense. No disrespect to the Pacers, right?
Pistons, contenders.
See, Pistons this season is just good vibes. Let's leave that what it is. It's just good vibes.
And it's going to continue to the Eastern Conference Finals.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. They're not winning. They're not beating any teams above them in a 7-game series. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they
no,
are.
they're not. Oh, okay.
You know what? I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. They have. How could I forget? How could I leave their point guard off? He's literally going off. But you look beyond their point guard. Remember, off the top.
Okay, yeah. He's balling.
You look beyond that. Their depth, their age. They're an exciting team. And you said it best. It's just vibes. We've seen
Exactly. The vibes are good now, and
go. We've
it's just
seen
to,
teams that have just been vibes go to the conference finals. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they could go on a run. I'm going to say it right now. I'm calling it. And forget I said the 76ers were going to go on a run. Forget all that. But just listen to this. Pistons are going to be a surprise. Clip this right now. Anybody, clip it. Pistons are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals this
uh,
season.
uh,
Would you give the Pistons or the Bucks a better chance of making the Eastern Conference
the
Finals?
box, the
Yeah,
box, the
fair. You know what?
box.
Realistic. I like it. I like it. Balance it out. Well, that finishes that list out. We'll see which teams are contenders, which teams are pretenders. Maybe in April or towards the better half of the season, if the lists are different, we'll look back at it. Moving on, though, we have a big game, huge game this Sunday, March 9th, an MVP battle as Joker versus SGA, Nuggets versus OKC. First and foremost, OKC has done a pretty good job of owning Western Conference teams this season and Eastern Conference teams. They have proven themselves to be a step above the rest. So in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be a great game. I think we're going to see a very close game that's an under 10-point game that's going to finish. I think it's going to be a 4 to 6 point difference in who wins, and I think that's going to be OKC. I think we're going to see OKC pull off a masterclass win because I do think they are the best team top to bottom in the West, and they have a depth that I don't think the Nuggets can slow down because the Nuggets proved that they couldn't slow us down. They couldn't slow the Lakers down, and we're no OKC. OKC has a certain level of depth and a certain level of quite a bit of things that even the Lakers, who have Luka and LeBron, do not have. So for me, OKC, it's not going to be a blowout. They're not going to win by a bunch, but it's going to be a good game. I think Joker's going to play an extremely high level of basketball, but I think SGA goes off. He just scored, I think it was 50, 51.
Yeah, 50. I think it was 50.
Was that last night?
Yeah, it was. It was last night. I guess. I forget. I forgot
He's
who they
about to get
played.
another 50 piece. I think he's going to get a 50 to 60 piece against the Nuggets because I do not see them being able to stop him. I don't, and I see them feeding, and that's what OKC does. Even though they have a depth that goes above a lot of other teams, they can still just feed SGA. They can feed
Yeah.
him, and that is the cheat code. You have a well-built team, and you have SGA. So for me, they're going to win, but it's going to be a good matchup. What do you think is going to go down? Do you think the Nuggets pull it off, or do you think OKC continues on a tear that they're on?
Nuggets that can't play defense. No, I'm good. Okay, see all the way. SGA will cement his MVP case this game. Mark, just clip it. Mark my words. SGA will fully cement and guarantee that MVP trophy comes to his house this spring. That's why I'm going to leave it there.
I like it. I like that call. And you know what? I'm with you, pal. And I used to not be. Remember, I was all Joker, and you kind of called me out last show and said it can't just be a one game. Like you can't change your opinion about one game. And I agree. I agree with you. But SGA, that's the thing. It's not even that Joker Joker really hasn't had a bunch of underproductive games this season. It's just SGA has literally only had, I think I said, one game under 20 points, and
Yeah.
he has had many games above 30 and many games above 4. He's a scoring machine, but he does it on both sides of the ball. And the Nuggets, like you said, defense has been lacking. Joker has never been an AD type of defender, but he has been able to contribute on defense, at least in certain areas, and that's not there this season. SGA has proven that as a player that I don't think, I'm assuming he's no older than 25, 26, 27. Mm-hmm. He's proving that he can lead this team and be an MVP and be so many. This is what an MVP is. That's SGA is doing what an MVP does. And so could Joker end up with it potentially? We've seen people get robbed. We've seen MVPs go to the head scratching person before, but I think I'm with you. I think he has a performance that cements it, and I think that SG. I think we are going to see the Thunder not run out of steam. They are going to want to finish as many games ahead of number 2 as possible. They're that type of team. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. So for me, I think it's definitely going to be a performance. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited to see it. I'm hoping for good health on both teams. I'm hoping we see a pretty good full roster ready to go for both teams. But that'll be a good game. That is Sunday. And when we check back in next show, we will obviously see where we're at. Moving on, we got to talk a little Laker basketball. Come on now. You already know. We're talking about Lakers versus the East because this week we've got Lakers versus Knicks and Lakers versus Celtics. Lakers versus Knicks is home. Lakers versus Celtics is away. Thank God both games are not away. An East Coast road trip isn't the worst thing, but you don't really want that to perform 2 games like that.
Two
You don't,
games, yeah.
you don't want that. I'm going to start it by saying I think we go 1-1. I think there's a really good chance we could go 2-0. I think there's a great chance we could beat the Knicks and beat the Celtics. I think we're definitely beating the Knicks. I think we're definitely going to go in. We have been a pretty successful home team even before Luka, and just in general, the energy at crypto.com arena has been pretty hype and it's been growing and changing and kind of reverting back to what it used to be for the last like 2 years, I would say ish. That being said, the Knicks are a good team, but they can't beat us. They can't beat us in our house. They're not going to be able to compete. I think it'll be a game where it's a good game until the fourth, and I think the Lakers take control of it. I think the Lakers win the fourth, and that's what the Lakers have been doing. They have been winning the second half and winning the fourth, and that's what they had been not doing before. We have seen so many seasons where they'd have good first halves, and then that'd be it. Now they're doing what they need to do in closing games, and I think they do that against the Knicks. Celtics, they've already beat this season. They beat them when they had AD. That was one of AD's last major performances, if I remember correctly, and could we still beat them and be a team that is up there because we have Luka and because I think we're playing? We've had JJ Redick and this coaching staff the whole season, and they've been doing great. But since we traded AD and just since that timeline, they're playing like an even better team. They're playing like a team that's on another level. And so for me, anything could happen, but the Celtics are a championship hungry team, and their health and their lineups and their stuff has been a little shaky throughout, and they've had a couple of whatever, but I think they pull it off. It's a home game for them. You know that Lakers Celtics rivalry they're going to show up. So I think we go 1-1, but I think there's a really good chance we go 2-0, but I'm saying there's no chance we go 0-2. Should I say no chance? Probably not, because those are 2 top 4 Eastern Conference teams. But if the health is there and everyone plays for the Lakers that's been playing, who's been able to beat us in the West? And that's, in my personal opinion, a bigger showing of where you're at with your skill. So what are your thoughts? Do we go 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2?
I'm going to be really optimistic and say anything can happen in basketball. But if I'm seeing us losing any game, it will probably be against the Celtics. So I am tempted to go 2-0, but I will be realistic and say, we go 1-1. We call it what it is, 1-1. But then we'll be surprised. You'll be shocked. We go 2-0.
You've been very optimistic lately when it's Lakers, and it's been working out. So I was hoping you were just going to say 2-0 and nothing else, and that'd be it. But
I wish I could. I'm also being real. Like
no, that is true.
This is basketball. Anything can happen. I mean, I am really. It's been interesting.
It will be. I think time will tell. I definitely think. I don't know. It will be interesting. But I think 2-0 is possible because we've been playing a brand of basketball that could warrant that. So we'll definitely check back in and see. Moving on, we have 2 more things we're going to go over. The next thing we're going to go over is there's been plenty of good and bad surprises throughout so many different sports seasons for so many different teams. But let's go over. I picked one one good surprise in the East and one good surprise in the West and a bad surprise as well this season. Starting with the good surprise in the West, I've got to go Lakers. And I don't want to talk too much. I don't want to be too big of a homer, talk too much Lakers. But the reason the Lakers are my good surprise is not even just because I'm a Lakers fan. The turnaround from fighting for a play-in spot and being worried about what play-in spot we would have to being second in the West. And it's not like we're a Pelicans team that flukes it for a week and then drops. We are the second best team in the West. And even if we lose that place, I still
We'll
honestly would
still make top six. Yeah.
easily. We're not fighting for a plan. We're not fighting for that spot. So for me, the jump from there to there is huge. And I think our roster, I think obviously one thing we have not improved is that big position and losing AD and not really gaining. Obviously, if we would have gotten that player from the Hornets, that would have been a huge. Was it Williams? That would
Mark
have been
Williams.
a
Yeah.
huge, huge boost. Obviously, maybe they know something we didn't know, and that's why that didn't happen, and it's better in the long run. But still, for me, I just think that's my surprise. That's my good surprise in the West, and it's not even because I'm a Lakers fan. I think we have seen a new life be breathed into LeBron. I think LeBron's career could last another season or two for sure. I honestly think unless a major injury happens, we are absolutely seeing LeBron suit up for the Lakers for one or two more seasons. At 100, I don't want to say 100%, but I just think Luka and him have a connection, and we could see a team be built that is pretty special. And they already have a pretty special team that's there. So my good surprise in the West is the Lakers. What about you for this season?
Definitely. The West. Good surprise. Definitely has been Lakers. I think. Precisely JJ Redick. Shout out to JJ Redick. I think he's been amazing. He's been a wonderful surprise. We all know what happened when he got hired and all the noise everyone was making. But I think it's been an amazing surprise. I wouldn't lie. The way he's come in and coached this group of players have just been amazing. Like Lakers, yeah, it's a shock, but like, whew, I think it's been fun watching JJ Redick. Good surprise. I think
Definitely.
every other team we kind of expected it. I'll say.
Hey, it was a pleasant surprise. I was a little bit worried. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Worst surprise in the West. It's got
Phoenix,
to be
yes,
the
Phoenix.
Suns. Yep.
I mean, I was actually going for the Pelicans at first, but then I'm like, Phoenix. Phoenix have three. Our Pelicans, he got hit with injury real bad, and then all the whole Zion stuff and stuff. So that would, um, but Phoenix have been terrible.
Yeah. No. Phoenix has to be the negative and the bad surprise because even when they have been a carousel of injuries and drama and whatever, they've still made the playoffs. They've still made the play, and it does not look like that's going to happen. And this team that essentially not blew up, but kind of blew up that championship team, the team that actually made it to the championship, this team was supposed to be the win now, build a superstar team around Booker, and it didn't work. And that last team that had that major success is completely it's gone. That team doesn't exist anymore. So for me, that's a super big negative because once again, look at another organization. I'm not going to sit here and talk negative on Kevin Durant, but look at another organization investing in this win now team around him, and it doesn't work. And it's interesting, and it makes you wonder and it makes you think. And so that's got to be the negative. Moving on to the East, the positive, it's got to be the Pistons. No matter if you think they're going to make the Eastern Conference Finals or not, they are a surprise team. They didn't even sniff the playoffs. I don't even think they won 20 games last season.
No,
I don't even
they
think
they won more games this season than their last two, 3 seasons combined, something like
I mean,
that.
it's a jump that for me is not a fluke. We've seen teams have fluke seasons. I think that sneakily the Pistons have been building a team through draft picks, through trades, through things. I think they've been building, and I didn't see that. I didn't think they've been doing that. I definitely wouldn't have called them a team that had been building in the last few years. So for me, they're building, and they are an exciting, like, super, super, super exciting team. Um, and I definitely think like I said, Eastern Conference Finals. Am I gonna would I place a a bet of money of any amount on it? Absolutely not. I would definitely not do that. I wouldn't bet my life. I wouldn't bet anything on it. But I definitely would confidently say, because of how they've been playing basketball, they've got a shot. So that's my good surprise. It's got to be the Pistons. What's your Eastern Conference good surprise?
It has to be Cavs. No, I didn't see this coming from Cavs. This is mental. Like what they're doing, what they're. I did not see it coming. Like Detroit, yeah, it's a good fun story, but the Cavs are actually con. That's no one saw it coming. Let's be frank. No one's. Mm, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. No one saw it coming.
That actually is a really good. Yeah, I will say definitely nobody. And I was one of them. I did not see it coming. They've been a team that's been improving and been building, but they've not had. This was a major jump. My negative surprise is the 76ers,
It has
because
to be.
I mean
It
that's
has to be.
even without the situation they have now with Embiid, they have underperformed with every single lineup. They have just looked like an absolutely terrible team this season, and a lot of it is because the players and the team that they had tried to build and put together literally isn't playing at all, and the players that they're trying to like push and get to make that didn't happen. So it's got to be the 76ers,
Mhm.
especially because they were just a team that made some playoff pushes within the last 4 years. So they were a team. They haven't been able to get it done, but they've at least been pushing. So for me, it's got to be the 76ers.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with you. Like this season, considering obviously you all know the hype when Paul George signed. Considering they signed Paul George, everyone was like, "Okay, yes, this is it," But then health has been really big on them. Has not been shining bright on them. So it's been tough. And they've tried. Nick Nurse has tried. Tyrese Maxey has tried carry them to where he can carry them to. Yeah.
It's not working out, and it looks like they're going to probably move on from Embiid, no matter injuries or not. I can imagine that that's where that's going. So time will tell, but obviously we will see if anything with any of those ends up changing. But definitely some surprises, and the NBA and sports in general are always full of a lot of surprises and a lot of different changes that can just happen. So, moving on, we have our final segment of the day, our top of the hour five. And today we are looking at ringless players, players that never won a championship. And we are good. I mean, this is hard to do a group list of just five, honestly, but tried to narrow my list down. So, this is the top five best ringless NBA players of all time. Let us know in the comments at any point if you guys want to see a specific top five. But starting off with the number five pick, I'm going with Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller, one of the best. He was the number two 3-point shooter in the league, but I do believe he got passed up. Was it Harden? Is Harden number two now? Harden, which no one ever really talked about that. I will say no one that didn't get a lot of fanfare. But moving on, Reggie Miller would have a ring. Reggie Miller would have multiple. If Michael Jordan didn't exist and if the Malice at the Palace didn't exist, Reggie Miller would probably have two or three, honestly. And what I will say, I've got a buddy that's a big Pacers fan, and he says to this day, whenever we talk basketball, he says, and he'll die on this hill, that the Pacers would have won the championship if the Malice at the Palace hadn't happened. And it wasn't even that they didn't have certain players back, but it was the momentum and it was the chemistry and it was everything that ruined. And so I do believe that Reggie Miller would have, I'm going to say, at least one championship if that didn't happen. And if we're looking at some matchups against Jordan or just in general where it goes differently, I think we're looking at multiple champion. I think we're looking at 2 or 3 chips. So my number 5 has to be Reggie Miller because one of the best to ever shoot it and one of the best to do a lot of things. I think people don't really give him as much credit as he deserves. So that's my number 5. David, who's your number 5?
It's so tough to pick. So tough. I'm. Ooh, I don't know. This is a tough one. Like he has army of ropes, you know. But I'm going to go with Tracy McGrady.
Good pick.
Tracy McGrady. I think, especially that season, 02-03 season. I think who won it? Lakers, was it Lakers that won it that year? And obviously we all know who the Lakers had that year, but damn, bro was on a tear. 32 points, 6.5, 5.5. Damn, everything he did, everything. Yeah, I don't MVP or championship. Like, let's even talk about the fact that he doesn't even have an MVP that year. Also, it's from that year. Also, it's crazy. But yeah, Tracy McGrady. And no one really talks about him. He's kind of on the low too. Like when you talk about like players, he's kind of on the low too. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, Tracy McGrady.
Great pick. He just missed my list. If we did top 10, he would have been on it because dude is, I think because of his injuries and because of just some of the teams, the bouncing around of teams he did later in his career, he's not as highly regarded, but he is one of the best offensive NBA players of all time. How many points did he score in like an insane amount of seconds? I don't remember what it was. It was like 11 and 30 something. It was some crazy amount of points in clutch time. So that's just what he did. My number 4 is actually a player that is still current, probably not for much longer. That's Chris Paul. What I will say about Chris Paul is, while he might lack certain statistical accolades or certain accolades, what he has done for teams. We saw him go to an OKC team and they went to the playoffs, right? I mean, he is a playoff machine. He turns teams into competitors, and he's been to the finals. He's been an MVP caliber player multiple times in his career. And for me, dude's one of the best guards of all time, easily one of the best guards of all time. Again, he lacks some MVP. He lacks certain statistical or certain achievements and certain things that other guards might have, but his impact on teams, I mean, it's no secret. And I don't think he's been a part of a team. The Spurs might be the first one, but I don't think he's been a part of a team that he hasn't helped make them into a playoff team at some point. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's literally just this Spurs team that might be a team that misses it. And I could be wrong that he's bounced around the last few years. There might be another team that he missed the playoffs while he was on. But the point is, he turns teams into successful competitive teams, and not every player can say that. And when you look at his statistics, he's one of the best guards statistically on both sides of the ball all the time. So my number 4 is Chris Paul. What about you?
Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, number 4. Philly, I think, deserved a ring. Again, if not for, we all know the Lakers and Detroit Pistons. Maybe not. But I think because what Allen Iverson did to the game, I think deserved a championship. What he did for Philly deserved a championship. I'm not going to say too much.
Nope. I mean, that's a great pick. AI, one of the best to ever do it, one of the best handles, MVP, and definitely could have had a more successful career if certain things had played differently, but one of the most exciting players to watch. Number 3, I'm going Charles Barkley. Not only is this one of the best players of the 90s, one of the most competitive and physical eras of basketball, he's an MVP. He went to the finals. He went head-to-head, toe-to-toe against the GOAT. He is definitely, in my personal opinion, one of the more underrated players of all time. And he gets clowned on by Shaq and by other people, and it's funny and all this. But you got to put some respect on Charles Barkley. When you see the footage of him on the court, he was a special player. That was definitely before he put down some of the donuts, but it happens. What can I say? I'm starting to feel a little bit myself too. So it happens. It happens at a certain time. But yeah, I definitely think Charles Barkley is an underrated player and one of the best to ever do it. And one of the best sons, if not the best son of all time. What are your thoughts on your number 3? Who do we got?
John Stockton,
Ooh, good.
the assist leader. Really, one of the reasons why the Jazz was significant. One of the many reasons why, other than Donovan Mitchell, I think Donovan Mitchell made the Jazz. And but then John Stockton, again, going up against Jordan, leader in assists, NBA player with a higher box minus than Michael Jordan. Sorry, only players that have a higher plus minus are Michael Jordan, and Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, David Robinson, all those guys. We all know what those guys did. Um, he's so unfortunate that he played in a time where it was what it is. So yeah,
Good pick, and that's my number 2. I don't have much to say. You took the words right out of my mouth. Literally, statistically, one of the best in certain categories to ever do it, and went toe to toe 2 times in the finals, and definitely should have at least one ring in a different NBA timeline. Who is your number 2?
Karl Malone again, very unlucky. He obviously we know he was with Utah. Him and John Stockton, running mates. They tried their best, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Um, he had how many MVPs? I think 4. Um, First in free throws, second in minutes, second in points scored. He was a menace. I think he had like 4 MVPs. Again, just because of the team he played in and the era he played in. Obviously, getting assists from John Stockton was would definitely help with that, but still, he's unlucky. Uh, yeah,
Definitely a good pick. Definitely a good pick for sure. Those two definitely should be a duo that won one to multiple rings, but that did not happen. Coming in number 1, I've got to give a disclaimer. Some people might not even know who this player is, but because of his resume and what he almost did multiple times and what he averaged, I got to put him in there. Number 1 is Elgin Baylor because he went to the finals 7 times for the Lakers and lost 7 times. But
Celtics. That's maddening. That's
terrible,
maddening.
terrible. But dude was Michael Jordan before there was Michael Jordan. He was averaging insane numbers and was playing a brand of basketball that could have translated at any time. So that's my number 1.
It's crazy. No one talks about that, but everyone will be talking about. Oh, LeBron went to 10 finals, one 4.
Seriously,
Bro went to 7 and lost 7.
no one talks. Even Jerry West went to a bunch and only won. What was it, 1 or 2? So come on,
I think it was 1.
come on now,
He
LeBron.
he did win Finals MVP in a losing effort, but this is what it is. Number 1, Charles Barkley. You said it all. He was dominant. Like, forget who Charles Barkley is now. He's just a troll right now, but he's dominant. Like, he was dominant, dominating force. We saw what he did. Actually, I think you wouldn't have seen him much in the NBA more. Like, I think if you watched the Olympics, the Dream Team, that's kind of where people kind of saw who Charles Barkley was. Kind of me too. I saw watching highlights of him. So Charles Barkley has to be a number one player without a ring. So sad. I think it's funny, yeah, when they troll him, but still, it's kind of sad, Loki. But
It is. Got to put a little respect on his name, but hey, definitely a good little list there, and we'll see where that list goes eventually because there might be plenty more players that end up ringless before the NBA's history is all said and done. So plenty more players left with lots of talent, but also there's only so many championships that you guys can win, and so we'll see. We'll see. The Lakers are up next, though. That's what I will say. We know that the Lakers are up next, winning this championship. That's all we know about championships. But anyways, as always, great to talk basketball with you guys. But this is not the only place where you can find us. David, where else can our viewers find you when it comes to podcasts?
listen to Modern Football Fans podcast wherever you get podcasts. Talk all this Premier League football. Once in a while, we go around the league and talk about around the world and talk about football worldwide. So if you love soccer, if you love football, check us out. Not American football, please. We are talking strictly football. Thank you all so much.
Check them out. Speaking of American football, the College Football Junkies college football show on Yankee and the Brit will return within the next, I believe, like 2 months. Once spring ball starts, we'll be coming back and talking some football. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But we will be back talking more NBA hoops with you guys soon. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir.